It's Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It's Health and Wellness Monday, and our topic for today is New Year, New You, Setting Health Goals. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive F5 with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, ReShell and I discussed part 2 of Women Dating Single Fathers, Risks, Realities, and Rewards. The quote of the day is, "We spend January 1st walking through our lives, room by room, drawing up a list of what work needs to be done, cracks needs to be patched. Maybe this year, to balance the list, we ought to walk through the rooms of our lives, not looking for flaws, but looking for potential." And that quote is by Ellen Goodman. We are so grateful for our sponsor today. We have Emmanuel Church of God in Christ with Pastor Michael Richardson, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emmanuel Kojic at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emmanuel Kojic-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson. And we're from the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
If you are tuned in on any form of social media, like the show, share the show, and invite someone else in on the show that you feel may benefit from this valuable information. My special guest today is our healthy solution expert with over 20 years experience as a family physician, impacting lives every single day, Dr. Michelle Meeks, MD, aka Doc Michelle. Hey, Doc.
Hello, Lady ReShell. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and Happy New Year. We are in 2025.
Thank you. Happy New Year's to you. I'm excited about the new year, and I'm excited about this topic on today.
Yes. Like you said, the new year, we start to go through our lives, go through the rooms in our house and trying to figure out, okay, what we're going to tackle this year. So it's a good topic, for the first topic of the year.
Yes. So new year, new you, setting new goals. So we know every year, Dr. Michelle, at the beginning of the year, most of us come up with these New Year's resolutions of how we want to do life differently in the next year to make life better, to be healthier, to be smarter, spend more time with family. And we have all these different goals, but we want to know how can we get there to those goals and be successful when it comes to going into 2026.
Yeah, right. Because we come out of the holidays being hustle and bustle. Maybe we haven't eaten the right foods. Maybe we've spent more money than we should have. And so we come and we say, okay, I'm not going to do that next year or this year. I'm going to do things differently, right? And so, but we know that most people make these resolutions and a majority of them stop before the end of January, right? And so how do we keep it going so that we can be successful not only for 2025, because these resolutions are really for your whole life, right? And how do you make smart goals that you can achieve and that are reachable and something that you can sort of measure as you know go through the year. So I wanted to start with that, right? Because we talk about these smart health goals, because we'll say, oh well, this year I want to save, or I want to lose weight, or I want to exercise more. But for them to be achievable, you want to think about it as SMART, SMART. So we want it to be specific. So not just that I want to lose weight or I want to quit smoking, but I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 months or in the
I'm sorry, she lost sound for a little bit while she's working that out. She's talking about the science of goal setting. I can't hear you, Doc. She's talking about the science of goal setting and how to make smart goals and make them so that they are obtainable for you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah. My daughter was calling me, call her later. But of course. Yeah, so you want to make these goals. You want them to be specific. You want to be sure that you set a goal that says not just that you want to lose weight or quit smoking, but set a number to it, set a time to it, be specific. I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months or in 6 months. Or we might say we want to walk more or we want to exercise more, but say something like, I'm going to walk 30 minutes every day. Or I'm going to, instead of smoking 10 cigarettes, I'm going to smoke 7 cigarettes every day. So make it specific. And then make it something measurable, right? So you can measure 10 versus 7 cigarettes. You can measure 30 minutes. You can measure 5,000 steps. So be more specific about it. Measure it. Make it something that you actually think you can achieve, right? Don't make these lofty goals if you've never walked or you've never, tried to be a vegetarian, right? Don't say, okay, today I'm going to be a vegetarian. Some people can do that. But if you've never done it, you might want to set it and say something that's achievable, like maybe for lunch, I won't have any meat, or for breakfast and lunch, I won't have any meat. And you can sort of make it something that is more achievable for you. So specific, measurable, achievable. You want to make it relevant to your life. If you are already, in pretty good shape, you might not want to make a resolution to exercise more. Maybe not. But if you have high blood pressure, you might want to make that resolution. And so make it relevant. And then, as we said, set a time to it. And those things is what we usually will use. And we use that a lot in medicine when we talk to patients about how do you make lifestyle changes? How do you, make these goals to impact your health that can seem overwhelming when you think about it. But we always talk about, just when I talk to patients about nutrition, what do you think you can do? You might not be able to, I don't know, give up all your soda, but maybe you can, instead of drinking a liter of soda, you can drink 1 cup of soda. And so really just making it something that's really achievable for you.
So we're setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals, which are SMART goals, because I feel like it can be overwhelming for individuals who are thinking about maybe getting their health or their life in order. So taking those small steps can be more impactful than these big, wide goals that, may seem overwhelming or that you probably feel like you can't achieve them.
Yeah, because you also want to be able to have some little celebrations along the way that you achieved it. Because if you think about it, sometimes the goals, you don't see a lot of the results right away. So you want to set something that you can say, yeah, I did that intermittently. The beginning of last year, I decided I was going to take up yoga. I wanted to start going to yoga classes. I wanted to do it 2 times a week. I said every week, but of course that's not going to happen. But I was able to say, okay, in the month of January, I signed up and I was able to go every week. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. Right. And so the next month, I said, I'm going to keep going every week and I'm going to try to make it twice a week. Now, some weeks I would make it twice a week, some weeks I wouldn't. But I could see that there was an end and there was a goal that I could say, yes, at the end of that, I did it. So right, you want to have some little celebrations along the way because it can be very overwhelming, especially if you've never been able to achieve that goal. I think about people who want to quit smoking, and we know that when you're trying to quit smoking, many times you relapse and you can't get it done, right? For many reasons, because nicotine is addicting. But if you can set some small goals along the way. For smokers, it's something like that. Some people can go cold turkey, not everyone can, but for some people, it's to say, you know what, I'm not going to have that first cigarette in the morning. That's a goal that you can make. Or I'm not going to have the cigarette in the car on the way home. And that's achievable, right? And you can celebrate that really quickly that you did that. So we find that really works as doctors when we're trying to educate and motivate folks to make life changes, is to make them, very specific.
I'm a person, Doc, that I love to journal. So I would tend to write it down. So tracking myself, even if it's every week or every day, what I ate, if you exercise, if you set the goal that you're going to do 5 days a week, writing it down will allow you to see and hold yourself accountable and be like, nope, I only did it 3 days this week. So I encourage writing it down, even if you put it in your phone and you set, they have this notes in your calendar where you can write yourself notes. Write it down so you can see it. And then, like you said, you can celebrate those wins and then you'll know what it is you need to work on moving forward. Because I think a lot of times we get discouraged because you don't see the results right away.
Right. Yeah. And reminding yourself why you made that goal, right? And sometimes journaling is very good for that, right? Because you writing down how you feel, what's the reason that I'm doing this? Because in the midst of it, when you really don't want to go and work out or exercise, or you're trying to go and eat the fast food burger or whatever, you can reflect on why you're doing this for the long term. Because again, a lot of the goals we make are for the long term, and you might not see the result right away.
Okay, you mentioned something about your why. So I read somewhere that when it's connected to like something personal, like if if your health is involved, I'm trying to lose weight because I'm going to be healthy because maybe type 2 diabetes is lifestyle. So I'm exercising, and if I'm watching what I'm eating, it's going to contribute to me reversing that. So the why is connected to something personal. So whenever you need to think back to why you're doing it, it kind of can easily bring you back into focus.
Yeah, very, very true. For a lot of reasons, we didn't even talk about financial health and the why of that, right? But that is very important, from a medical perspective. When we are asking patients to make these changes, I try to get them to reflect on what would you be able to do if you weighed 10 or 20 pounds less that you can't do now, right? Maybe it's, you want to be able to walk, a little bit further, walk your grandkids to school, during the school year. So it really does make a difference when you can make it tangible and connected to something that's really important to that person. That why, I'm glad you brought that up, is so key, because there's many times along the way that you could lose your way about, why am I really doing this?
Absolutely. I have a listener on Instagram. That her name is By Cancer, and she says relevant and achievable goals. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, yes. Thanks for that comment because it's got to be important to you and it's got to be something that you really can achieve. It's a little bit of a goal, but you could see yourself doing it, you know. You could see yourself maybe getting up and walking 30 minutes. It might be 20 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, whatever that is, but make that achievable for you.
And Brenda said, taking the stairs. When you see everybody getting on the escalator, the elevator, take the stairs. And you will be
Yeah.
surprised, like just that little bit of taking the stairs every day at work or at the mall would really do for you.
Yes.
Because I think when we
Yeah.
think of exercise, we think of having to do this long term, this long hour, 30 minutes. But I know you mentioned before, we can break it up into like 10 minutes increments and still get the same benefits.
That's exactly right. Yeah, 10 minutes 3 times a day is just as good as 30 minutes all at once. So the stairs, parking further, you know, in the parking lot, so you just walk a little bit more. In the cold weather now, we talk about going to the mall and walking there before the stores open, or, you know, getting your exercise that way, window shopping, sometimes walking with a friend, things that you're doing two things. Maybe you're connecting with your friend, but you're still getting exercise.
So make smart goals when you're thinking about your resolutions, not something that's quick and easy. Because if you're thinking about health, you're mainly thinking about something long term. So if it doesn't come right away, just keep at it and know that eventually you will get to your goal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Set those goals. Think about what's important to you. What do you want to, what did you want to achieve last year that you weren't able to achieve? And, you know, you think about why didn't you do it? And then you attack it differently, right? So, it could, we always talk about sleep. We talk about, you know, going to get your checkup. That's one of the other things we talk about as the new year, right? Is the preventative health, because that's the foundation of your wellness, is getting, you know, going to the doctor and making sure that you've had your mammograms and your colonoscopies and you've had blood work done to make sure that if you have something, we're catching it early and that it's treatable, and so that you have the health to do those goals that you are talking about. So really important to think about your preventative health as the new year comes along, is not only mammograms, vaccines, make sure, you know, you get your COVID vaccine, your flu vaccine, if you're over 50, your shingles vaccine. All of those things are important as a foundation so that you can stay healthy throughout the year.
Can you share like some simple lifestyle changes that people can incorporate today to reduce their risk of chronic illnesses?
Yes, yes. One of the things we always talk about on your show is a couple of things: making sure you're getting enough sleep, decreasing your stress, managing your blood pressure. Those are three things that I think of right off the top. So we know that as an adult, you should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night.
That's a
We
lot.
tend, I know, but we know when you're getting less than that, you do increase your risk of heart disease, you know, that stress, inflammation, diabetes, the cortisol level goes up because of the stress of not getting your rest. And we recommend 7 to 9 hours every night. So a smart goal for that, I think, if you know you're not getting enough, you're not getting that. I usually will tell a patient to go to bed half an hour earlier. Let's see if we can get that, because if you're used to going to bed at a later time, if you're used to going to bed at 1 a.m. and I say go to bed at 10 p.m., that it's just not going to work, right? It's not going to work. But if you can go from 1 to 12:30, right? Someone would say, okay, I could probably do that. That's achievable. And that's an actual, you know, measurable thing that I can do. And then you might want to do that for a whole month. You might want to do that 12:30. If you find that you can do that and go to midnight before 30 days, then do that. But I usually say, okay, if you are a night person and you're getting 5 hours of sleep, maybe just move that ahead 30 minutes and do that for a while. Do that for 30 days, and then go to midnight. Because we're not trying to rush the process, because again, we're trying to do this for life. So what's going to make you successful is slow and steady versus trying to rush it.
I totally agree. How do you feel that preventive care can contribute to long-term health, longevity, especially for those in underserved communities?
Yeah, right. So we know that there's certain chronic illnesses, those that we always talk about, the silent diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes, even, and kidney disease, that you can have no symptoms for, that tend to be more prevalent in underserved or African American communities. That if you can go for your preventative visit at least once a year, we're going to increase your longevity in health, because we can catch things early, right? We can teach you about healthy eating. If there's anything on your lab work, we do a panel of blood work at least once a year, to check for certain things, right? We can look at your blood counts and tell, could you have cancer? Do you have kidney disease? How's your liver function? How's your thyroid? Is your sugar high? I mean, there's lots of things that we check for. So that's how it will contribute to having a longer, healthier life.
I did my annual this year.
Good.
No, it was horrible.
What happened?
It was. My labs were out of whack.
Oh,
and
no.
It was really horrible. And so the doctor, I'm gonna be really vulnerable right now. So the doctor, I don't know if this is a new thing, but they don't really touch you. They don't touch, right?
They should be listening to your heart and looking in your ears.
The chief doctor did when she came in.
Okay.
He did not. So they did the lab work, and I got it back, of course, in my charts, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. Okay. So I go see him, and then right away, he wants to put me on medicine. I said, no, you will not. What else do you have besides medicine? What else can we do? And he really couldn't give me anything to do, to eat, or to change my lifestyle. So I had to educate myself and bring these things down, right? So I said, okay. He said, okay, I'm going to schedule you out for another 4 weeks. And he prescribed me something. He says, come back in 4 weeks and we'll see how you're doing. So I came back in 4 weeks. And he goes, oh, your numbers look a little better. So how was the medicine? I said, I don't know, because I never.
You made him mad.
And he said, what? I said, I never took it. He said, what did you do? I said, I'm exercising. I'm watching what I'm eating. I'm drinking herbal teas, less stress. And he just looked at me and he says, you're human. And so sometimes things are going to go wrong in your body. You may have certain things, and not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're human. And sometimes the body just don't function as it should. And so when the chief doctor came in, she listened to my heart, she listened to my lungs. And she said, so I see you don't want to take the medicine. Is there a reason? So I told her my reason. She said, okay. And she says, maybe because you were doing all of those things, that's why your numbers wasn't as high as it could have been, because of the things that you were doing. And so she said, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to be able to control this naturally. So she said, okay, we'll give you 3 months to do what you want to do, as far as naturally what you can do. But they wasn't giving me suggestion. This is the thing. I'm thinking okay, they're going to give me some type of suggestion on what to do, how to do. None of that. It was just, if those things are not working, then go ahead and take the medicine and then come back and see me in 4 weeks. I was like.
Right. Yeah. So a couple of things. Kudos to you for advocating for what you wanted and sort of educating yourself on what you could do from a lifestyle perspective, right? I think as providers in the sort of patients who may not be as self-motivating as yourself. Our job is to educate you and to figure out how do we correct whatever that abnormality was, to help prevent that from getting worse and giving you complications, right? So
Right.
some people are able to do those lifestyle things, and some aren't. Some I've had patients say, "Give me the medicine. I know I'm not going to do that." Right? Everybody's different.
Right.
And the other piece to that, that experience you had, is a lot of providers are not trained on the lifestyle or the herbal natural
Yes.
options.
Mhm.
So sometimes I will recommend, and most insurance plans allow you to see a registered dietitian if it's
Yes.
in your plan. So you can get that from the folks who study that, right? And
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
So I think a registered dietitian is a great option to go over the foods and things that can help with cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, all of that. And then where exercise lowers cholesterol. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do from a lifestyle perspective. And it's great that you did that without medications. We don't want to give folks medications, but as you know, it's a $1 billion industry for a
I
reason.
And I just looked at
It's
him, and part of me I disliked. I had a doctor that was my doctor for a while, and then she moved. Her husband moved. She was pregnant, so she moved. So then this is like the second doctor, and they're in and out of there within 15 minutes. And so a year ago, I had the other doctor, and she did nothing. She was just at the computer talking to me. When they sent me the survey, I gave her all zeros, and I wrote a paragraph as to why I rated her that way. She called me. And she says, as soon as I saw the survey, I knew exactly who the patient was. And she said, what can I do, to make our encounter better? And I just
yeah,
told her, I said, you in there for 15 minutes. You didn't touch me once. You didn't look at me. You just reading off of this chart, but not trying to get to the root cause of, okay, why is this happening? What's going on? And
right.
I'm just,
Yeah.
And so then here I am with this guy doing the same thing. And I just looked at him and I just said,
Yeah, that's a learning. Was she a younger doctor? I don't
She
know,
was
but
younger. And she really, when I walked away from the conversation, it was positive when we walked away because, she was telling me, we only have 15 minutes when we go in there. Most of the time, I probably won't even see the same patient again. But if you would give me another chance, blah. I was just like, but she wasn't there for me to give her another chance. But here I am with a different doctor. So having to start over. And I'm just like, that was discouraging.
Yeah,
and so,
that's a problem with the healthcare system in that we are tasked with seeing so many patients and then checking off the list of certain things that has to be checked off, that it doesn't become a personal conversation with the patient, right? Because
so
I
there's
talk
no
about
connection.
that all the time.
There's no connection there.
Yeah.
So if there's no connection there, I'm not going to be open with you and say, right. And so I just told him, I said, look, because he said, what's the problem with you not wanting to take medicine? I said, dude, I did chemo for 6 months. They gave me 9 pills every single time I had the chemo.
Right. You take medicine.
Yeah, if I don't have to put anything in my body, then I don't want to. If it's something that I can't control by lifestyle, then allow me to do that. I understand some people have to be on medicine for the rest of their life. I have a type 1 diabetic daughter.
Right.
She has to be on insulin. There are some people that have to be on, people that has asthma, that's certain type of medicine. And I get that. And if I've done all that I can do to do that, and if we have to resort to medicine, believe me, that's going to be the last result and not the first.
And it's important to advocate for yourself, right?
I did. He was looking at me like,
he was shocked.
He was young. He was a young guy. He was. He says, I'm going to be thinking about you over my Christmas break. I said, you do that.
Because that will change how he interacts with the next patient, because you've got to give them a chance. I always have that conversation, right? Depending on what the numbers look like, right? And what your other risks are, right? Are you going to be able to do the things that it will take to lower these numbers, right? And someone might say no, they're not going to be able to do it, depending on the other comorbid issues that they have, in which case medication might be right for that person. But as we always talk about on your show, lifestyle changes. I tell patients all the time, I've got thousands of prescriptions I can write you. That is not the goal. The goal is for you to make lifestyle changes and to have better wellness, right? I can write you a prescription. We've got tons of prescriptions we can write, but that's not the goal. And any physician that's seeing you, for those listening to the show, should be open to that. Or you might need another physician, because it should be a two-way conversation.
And I think it was me telling him what I was going to do, because he sat there, he said, well, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? I want to be able to do this naturally. I want to be able to do my numbers in balance naturally with lifestyle. I want to be able to at least try that.
Right.
And he said, okay. And him and his doctor said, okay. He was like, I'll give you 3 months to do what you need to do. Your journal of what you're doing. So when you come back, we have, some sort of record of your progression. Right. Okay. And that's all I'm asking. Like, I want to be heard. I want to be valued. I want what I say to be taken, because this is my health too. And I'm partnering with you. It's not just you telling me, I'm partnering with you with my health. Right. So I want to be able to give you the information that you need in order to service me better.
Yes.
And in return, I have to be honest with you and give you the things that I'm dealing with, so that you can identify what it is that would best service me.
Yeah. And I think providers are practicing a little bit differently. We're learning that it's not just about writing a script. It's about understanding the whole patient. We talk about whole health a lot and being holistic in our care, because until you address the whole issue, the whole patient, you won't get success, right? In managing any of their chronic illnesses. So that is a good point. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. So, and then you mentioned talking to a nutritionist. So that was going to be my next step, is to go to see a nutritionist to see if what I'm doing is going to give me the success that I need, right? Because I can be thinking all day, but this is somebody who went to school for, okay, I need to figure out, because I stopped eating meat. So there's certain nutrients and stuff I'm not getting, especially if I'm not supplementing. So what is it that I can eat and still get the nutrients that I need through my food in order for my numbers to balance the way that they should?
Yes. So nutrition can be very complex and complicated. And we tell patients, eat less red meat, but then what do I eat? And especially if they have chronic diseases. So I was doing some research on, like, the 10, I hate to say superfoods, but the 10 best foods, 10 superfoods. And Harvard Health, if you go online, harvardhealth.com, they have the 10 superfoods, which is the 10 best healthy foods to give you nutrients, from a whole health perspective. And I'm going to go down the list, but it's online too at harvardhealth.com. 10 superfoods. Berries. We talk a lot about fruits and vegetables, right? Yes. So those berries, your blueberries, your strawberries, all of those have great antioxidants. Those fruits that are the red, purple colors, those deep colors, they have great antioxidants, which gets rid of all the damage that pollutants and things do to our cells. So when we talk about foods, add that to your diet. We talk about fish all the time. Your salmon, your sardines, your codfish, all of that has omega-3, great for your cholesterol. So you want to make sure you add that if you're not allergic to fish, that you do that and get that omega-3. We talk about your vegetables, right? Your green leafy vegetables. Those are great for vitamins A, vitamin C, your calcium. So, you hear about the Mediterranean diet. It's the best, most well-studied diet out there that has been shown to help decrease your blood pressure, decrease your risk of heart disease. You can Google Mediterranean diet, but it has these things in it that Harvard Health is talking about. Your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your olive oil. Olive oil decreases your risk of heart disease. So when you're cooking, you want to use olive oil as much as possible. You want to use beans, they call them the legumes. That's part of the Mediterranean diet. So I'm not a big fan of fad diets, but the one that over time that has been studied, not only the Mediterranean diet, but the DASH diet, which they both kind of go together. The DASH diet, the dietary approaches to stopping hypertension, that's also a very good diet. So I would encourage anyone that's out there trying to figure out what they should be eating to do that, to look for the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet. That's going to give you all the tools of the good foods that you should be including in your diet. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was tomatoes, which I hate tomatoes, but tomatoes have been shown, they have lycopene, which decreases the risk of prostate cancer. I'm not a big tomato fan, but if you can add tomatoes to your sandwiches and your salads and things like that, that's excellent as well.
I love tomatoes. I do.
You do?
I love tomatoes. I really do. If you are tuned in right now to Warriors Talk, we're live on Intellectual Radio, and I have Dr. Michelle Meeks on, and we're talking about New Year, New You, setting health goals. And she is really dropping some gems for anyone who is starting out the new year and you're wanting to see and make some positive changes over the lifetime of your life. And we're not talking about something that's quick, that's easy. Like she said, that's a fad that's going to probably go away quickly, or you get tired of it and you're not motivated to do it. But we're talking about something that you can do. She mentioned SMART, something that's obtainable for you to do over the long term of your life and get good results. And so the information that we're doing is really helping me, because when I left that doctor's appointment, I was discouraged. And I was like, well, what's the point of me doing any of this? And when I come here, that's when I first went. When I come, and then I get these results thinking that I'm doing the right thing, but actually I'm not. I'm harming myself. Marshall Flowers says, this is some good information. Thank you. Hey, Marshall.
Awesome. Put it into action.
Yes, yes. So I want to talk about some of the nutrition myths and facts, because I think a lot of times we like to jump on board with things thinking that it's the right thing for us, and it may not be. So it's important for you to research different, and we don't like to say diets, but it should be
healthy eating options.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that. So I wanted to talk about some of these myths and facts as it relates to nutrition. And one of them, the first one is eating most of my calories in the evening will cause me to gain weight.
That's a myth, because really you gain weight if you eat more calories than you burn. So in general, you need to have a calorie deficit. Doesn't matter if you're eating it late or early. We know that if you eat a big meal too late, right, that can affect digestion, and it can sit on your stomach and give you some acid reflux if you're lying down right after you eat a big meal. But in general, you want to make sure that you're eating less calories than you are burning. That way you're in a calorie deficit and can lose weight if that is the goal.
Well, another myth for nutrition is fat-free means calorie-free, which means I can eat as much as
Definitely not. So some fat-free foods can have other processed ingredients. So you want to be aware of that. And you also want to be sure that if you're eating too much of something, what does it mean that it's fat-free? Is it truly fat-free? Is it low fat? And then too much of that can also cause you to be eating too many calories. And then you want to be sure that it's got the right, there's good fats for our bodies and there's bad fats for the body. So
yeah, I know that I love avocados, and I know avocado is a good fat. So if you're looking for
yeah,
something that's like a good fat to eat, if you like
yeah,
the texture and the taste of avocados, that would be a good fat.
yeah. You want to look for things that say mono unsaturated fats. Saturated fats are the bad fats. That's what's in like your red meats and butter, things like that. I always would tell patients that when you think about butter, the harder the butter, the worse it is for you. So if you think about something like lard or the stick butter versus the squeezable butter out of the bottles, right? The more liquid in general is a little bit better for you because it takes out some of the trans fats. So that's a simple way to think about it. But also, you want to use the olive oils. Again, it's liquid and it's better for you than the hard stick butter, lard, things like that, for sure.
So we're talking about nutrition and the facts and the myths. It says carbohydrates and sugar are evil because they help you gain weight.
No, no, not true. So there are good carbs, whole grains. There are bad carbs, and so this is where a dietitian would come in with you as well, right? So we talk about carbs are sweet potatoes versus white potatoes. Well, white potatoes are a little bit worse for you than sweet potatoes. There are whole grain foods that also have carbs. Fruits have carbs. We just talked about berries, right? So fruits have carbs and sugar, but they also have good nutrients as well, right? Versus donuts and cakes or, mac and cheese that has bad, all the bad carbohydrates. So as I started with the conversation, I said, sometimes nutrition can be a little bit complicated, right? So even if you can't or you don't have the ability to go to a registered dietitian, um, I encourage you to make small changes with some of the things that we talked about here, right? It might be adding berries or fruits to your oatmeal or on the side of your plate with your salad, right? I love putting lots of fruit, berries in my salad because I can get some of that and still get a little bit of sweetness along with the salad and the cruciferous vegetables. So, but as I said before, Mediterranean diet, DASH diet can simplify what is good. Look at that and then think about what can you take from that to incorporate in your diet. Again, you want to make it a specific, measurable goal for you. You might look at that and say, yeah, well, okay, I like avocados, you mentioned. Maybe I can add that, every other day to my diet. That's something that's specific and it's measurable. Or maybe it's instead of white rice, I go with brown rice, or I add more nuts or beans to my salad. So look at that and then take from it specific things that you can be consistent with adding into your diet that you can buy when you go to the grocery store.
Well, you mentioned salads, and it says eating mostly salads and greens will help me maintain a healthy weight.
Not necessarily, because you need a balanced diet, right? Absolutely. Salads and the green leafy vegetables are good for a number of reasons. You're going to get those vitamins and minerals. It has fiber, which helps to keep you full. But you also need to incorporate protein, right? Protein in general is the nutrient that keeps you full the longest. And so if, like with salads, you'll notice that folks will put chicken breast on it. They might put salmon on it because that gives you the protein along with the other nutrients from your vegetables, from your salads, from your fruits. But you also need protein. So when we always talk about eat a well-balanced diet, right? It's this generic term, well-balanced. So what does that mean? Depending on your weight, female, male, you need certain amount of protein in your diet. But again, I want to think about the small goals that you can incorporate, and then knowing that it's a balanced diet. It's not a fad diet, but it's a balanced diet of all the nutrients that will give you the best success, not only for weight, but for health.
What about eating healthy is expensive?
Yeah. So sometimes it can be, because we know that in general, especially in underserved communities that are unable to get the healthier food options, or the things that are not the best for us are cheaper, right? But so I've had patients tell me, right, they can get a liter of pop for 99 cents, or they can get certain, frozen meals, which may not be the healthiest, more cheaper. But in general, it is possible to eat healthy at all, financial levels. I don't want that to be a barrier, but that's a longer conversation, because you have to think about, and a lot of patients will tell me this, that if I buy fruits and vegetables, they don't have a long shelf life, right? And so I might spend the money on that, and it could go bad, versus the things that have a long shelf life, which may not be the healthiest option. So one of the things we talk about is making the healthy choice the easy choice. So if you're going to buy fruits and vegetables, or buy those things that can go bad quickly, you want to make it easy to reach for. So if you have kids or whatever, it's put the apples right on the counter so they can see it, not in the fridge, in the drawer underneath, right? They got to open the fridge, they got to pull out the drawer, they got to find it. So if it's, at the beginning of each day, that you put whatever that is out that you want them to reach for, you put it on the table where they can see it. If it's more water than soda, fill a pitcher with ice cold water, put it on the counter with the plastic cups right next to it, right? So you make the easy choice, the healthy choice.
As we wrap up the show, Dr. Michelle, how does mental health influence your physical well-being, and how important is it to prioritize mental wellness along with our health goals?
Yeah. The last topic, and a very important topic, right? So physical health, having chronic diseases in the long term, we know that can make people feel depressed and anxious. And when you're feeling depressed and anxious, you are more likely to have poor health habits, be it not moving as much, be it reaching for what we call the comfort foods. So going from that way. And then we know that when you have mental health, we know with schizophrenia might increase the risk of heart disease. And so it's important to know that going both ways, there is a connection, and that even for people who have serious mental illness, it is very important to add and to incorporate those lifestyle changes to boost mood, right? Walking outdoors, exercising in a class with other people and being social also can help boost your mood. So it goes both ways. I really encourage folks that if they are feeling depressed, anxious, to talk with someone, to incorporate health and wellness activities like meditation, which could be sitting, for a minute and just in quiet and just breathing in and out 10 times. It could be taking yoga, any of those things to help improve your mental health, decrease your stress, can improve your physical health.
So I was going to ask you to give us some words of wisdom, but it seems like you already did. But can you just give us in less than 60 seconds, new year, new you, setting health goals?
Yes. So as the new year is upon us, think about what it is that is relevant to you that you want to achieve this year and make these SMART goals. Think about SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to you, and make it time sensitive. And really think about what you can do on a daily basis to help you achieve those goals. Start with walking, start with the Mediterranean or DASH diet, and incorporating some of those things into your daily routine. But just think about as you go forward, trying to be consistent with those goals, trying to maybe write it down, as Lady ReShell said, to keep yourself accountable, and know that sometimes we slow down, we go backwards, but just keep moving ahead to reach those goals that you have for your overall health and wellness.
Thank you so much, Doc. I always appreciate you every single month educating us to take action with our health.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. You guys don't go anywhere. Coming up next is Pillow Talk with God, and I will leave you with some words of wisdom. When it comes to your health, prevention, they always say, is worth an ounce of cure. So make sure that you're taking action with your health. Join me next Monday right here on Intellectual Radio at 6 p.m. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.